Okay, so the first thing we need to do to get started is to actually download Unreal Engine. Now, Unreal Engine is where all the game creation happens. So if you don't have Unreal Engine already, it's really easy to get started. All you need to do is go to unrealengine.com and you can create an Epic Games account. Now, an Epic Games account doesn't cost anything, it's completely free. And what you do is you can click sign in here and click sign up, and this just prompts you for a first and last name, a display name, which is something that you choose, and an email and a password, and you can create your Epic Games account. Now, once you've done that, you will have access to all of the resources on the Unreal Engine website and for Epic Games in general. So what you need to do is you go to download, you sign in if you have your Epic Games account created, and once you've signed in, you're redirected to the option to download the engine. Now, there are two currently options to choose from: game developers or enterprise. Now, enterprise is a slightly different software package. It's more geared towards people who want to do things like architectural visualization or engineering based work, and it's a little less game developer centric. Now, for game developers, you get the Unreal Engine proper. This is the actual engine for creating games, and it has everything included in it that you need to create video games. So what you do is you proceed to download, and what you get is the option to download either for Windows or Mac. If you choose whichever one you're working with, then you will download the Epic installer. And once you've downloaded the Epic installer, you will run that program, and that should allow you to get what's known as the Epic Games Launcher. So the Epic Games Launcher is a tool that you use whenever you want to work with Unreal Engine, but it also has a lot of different other things as well. So these are all things that, as a game developer, you typically become familiar with depending on what you're interested in doing. So you can have friends through the Epic Games Launcher. Basically, your Epic Games account can link up with other Epic Games accounts, and you can be friends. There are lots of learning resources at your disposal, so you can take a look at the Learn tab here. The Unreal Engine tab typically has a sort of news bulletin with all these articles and things that you can learn about and things that are going on related to Unreal Engine. And the marketplace is a resource for you to get assets for game development. So if you need things like environments or things like effects, these are special effects, it looks like here, or other templates. People have actually created some programming functionality that you can then get from the marketplace. Now, some of these cost money, some of them are free. You can actually filter by these filters here. One of them is free. You can look for free Epic Games content. Sometimes things are free for the month as a sort of promotional thing. So this is where you can download things that you can use in your game. Assets specifically. So when you hear game asset, that term means something you can use in a video game, whether it's mesh, like this character here, it's a mesh. It could refer to a animation. So an animation is an asset that is basically associated with particular meshes. Special effects, things like materials, things like sounds, all of these things are assets, and they can be used in your game. So that's something to take a look at later on when you have the time to check out these assets on the marketplace and see if you see anything you're interested in for making your games. But what we're really interested in at the moment is the Library tab, and this is where your Unreal Engine projects show up. So once you've created a project in Unreal Engine, it will show up typically here in My Projects, and above that you'll see Engine Versions. Now, if you haven't downloaded Unreal Engine yet, what you need to do is download a version of Unreal Engine. Now here you will be presented with a choice. If you click on the plus here, you'll get this tab that pops up, and you'll have a drop down next to the version number, and the versions range from all the way back to down in the low 4s to all the way up to the at the time of this video, 4.21, and I believe 4.22 is available as well. I have version 4.22.1. Now, some versions, especially if they're still new, if they've just come out, they can sometimes be prone to bugs because all of these new features have been added, and so bugs pop up and they're fixed all the time, but it can be sometimes difficult to work with the newest version if there are still bugs that need to be ironed out. So it's typically a good idea to work with a version or two below the latest version, and there has been a bit of a problem or two with 4.20, so I would encourage you to stay away from 4.20, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and use 4.22. And while this is the latest version, and I just said to be wary of the latest versions, 4.22 seems pretty stable. Hopefully we won't run into any bugs. I don't foresee any bugs for this series, but if we do, we will address them as we need to. But in general, if you stay a couple of versions away from the latest, you will be pretty safe. 4.19 is a pretty stable version. I haven't really seen too many bugs with that one. But choose the version that you feel like installing, and you can reap the benefits of the new features that have been added to those latest versions. So in my case, I'm going to use 4.22.1, and once you've downloaded the engine, it's going to take quite some time. It's quite a big download. Then you'll have the option to launch the engine, and once you do that, if you click on launch, then you will see the launch menu, which will pop up here in a second. Okay, so you'll see this Unreal Editor, and down here at the bottom left, you'll see initializing with a percentage. So this is where you get to see how much of the editor has been loaded at the time. And for the version, you get the version here, and that will remind you which version you're using. Now, if you have projects in the various versions of Unreal Engine, they will be grayed out because you've launched a particular version of the engine, and you cannot open, say, a project made in 4.18 with a version that is later than that, in my case 4.22. So all of these projects that I've created have been grayed out. So my only option is to create a new project. So if I click on the New Project tab, you'll see that we have a couple of options here. We have a Blueprint tab and a C++ tab. Now the C++ tab is what you would choose if you want to create a project using C++ code. But for our purposes, we're not going to be using any C++ code. We're going to be using the Blueprint scripting system, and we're going to get into just what that is here in the following videos. But we're interested in creating a Blueprint project, and you've got all of these template projects to start with, along with a blank project. Now you may be wondering, what is a template project? And what a template project is a project with some starter content already inside of it, including some basic functionality depending on the game genre that you choose for your template. For example, you've got this first-person template which starts you off kind of like a first-person shooter. You've got a pair of arms and you've got a weapon that you can use to shoot things with. The flying template starts you off in some sort of hovercraft and you can fly it around the world. And these are designed to help you to just have something to start with when you're creating your first project and take a look at its functionality and see how it was programmed, basically. And so for this tutorial series, I think it will be appropriate to start off with the rolling template, because the rolling template is more of a casual game style template. It's basically a ball, looks sort of like a beach ball, And you have the ability to roll this ball around in the world and knock into things. I've got some physics simulation going on here with these boxes. And you can knock the boxes over and, move this ball around in the world. And you can see there's a bit of a description here. If you are interested, go ahead and read that. But this is the first thing that I would like us to download and to work with for the engine. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here, and you'll see that depending on the platform you're developing for, whether it's a desktop or a console, which is something like a Xbox or PlayStation, you can select the desktop console, or you can select mobile tablet, and this is optimized more for mobile devices. Since we're just learning here and we're going to be working primarily with our computer while we're developing, I'm going to choose desktop console for this, although at this point it's not very important which one you choose. You should be able to choose either one. Now, I'm going to leave maximum quality how it is. Scalable 2 or 3D is a optimization that can help save on some resources, but for our purposes for learning this, it doesn't matter too much. So I'm going to leave it at maximum quality. And this with starter content, if you select this, you can choose not to have anything extra in there. But if you choose with starter content, you will get some extra assets and some props and things that you can use to work with while designing your game. And I would like to start this with starter content just because we're going to really enjoy using some of these extra assets that will come along with this. So let's go ahead and choose starter content. Now, for the folder, this is where it's important to decide where you want your projects to stay on your computer. Now, you could have it in this default path that it chooses for you, but you can choose the triple dots here and choose a spot where you would like your project to be. For example, if you have like a spare hard drive, like a terabyte drive or 2 or 3 terabyte drive, for things that are big, like many gigabytes large in memory, you can choose that. So I have a secondary hard drive here, and this is where I like to keep my Unreal Engine projects. So for this one, I'm going to choose that hard drive, and I'm going to choose a folder that I have called UE4 projects and select that folder, and that way I know where my project will be. And I encourage you to place it in a spot on your computer that is ideal for you. Now, you can name the project almost anything you want. Some names are not valid. For example, you can't start it with a number. But if you want to call it something descriptive of what we're doing, for example, tutorial project or rolling ball project or something like that, you can do so. I'm going to call this one rolling ball, because it's the rolling ball template and we're already going to have some ball rolling functionality. And so this is basically just going to be a project we use to learn some basic skills. And so it's not too important what we call it, but that's what the name I'm going to give it. And I'm going to go ahead and click Create Project. Now this will take a few moments to load the Unreal Engine editor. And while it's doing that, you'll see that just like when we launched Unreal Engine, we've got this little loading screen with some menu items, one of which shows you the percentage loaded. Now, here is Unreal Engine, and down here you may or may not have this output log. I'm going to close it because you probably won't have that open. That's something left over from a previous project. It's a setting. But what you should see is basically the overall layout of the engine. You'll see a whole bunch of things, and we're going to get into what all of these things mean once we start digging in, getting our hands dirty, and actually developing. And so I'm not going to overwhelm you with the definitions of what all of these things are and what they do just yet. We're going to get into that, so don't worry about that. But just take a look. This is Unreal Engine. This is the editor. This is where the game creation happens. So this is basically a package or a suite of software packages that all come together and collectively make up the Unreal Engine. And Unreal Engine has many, many features and many different things that we're going to learn how to use. And just to start off, you'll see right here in the middle of the screen what's known as the viewport. This actually shows you basically a window into the world, into the game that you're creating. And so you'll see that we've already got some pieces of geometry in here and things, and it looks almost like basically a video game already. So that's the purpose of these templates, is to give you something that you can work with. Now, you can actually play the game in Unreal Engine in the editor. As you may have noticed, we have a play button up here. And by the way, hovering over anything in here, just about anything in Unreal Engine, gives you a tooltip that pops up. Some of them are pretty long and very descriptive, and they explain to you just what it is you're hovering over. So if you hover over the play button, you'll see that it says play this level in the active level editor viewport, and the hotkey for this is Alt-P. Now we can actually play this template project right now, right off the bat. If you click play, you'll see that the camera view changes. It's focused on the ball, and you have the mouse cursor, but as soon as you click inside of the viewport, you'll see that now the mouse cursor is gone and we are actually inside the game playing the game. Now you might have noticed also that the ball jumped, and that's programming functionality already in this template project. If you click again, you'll see that the ball will jump again, so that is something built into this project. Now, if you press the arrow keys on your keyboard, you'll see that the ball can actually roll around. So we already have movement functionality. You can also use the W, A, S, and D keys, because a lot of games use the WASD scheme for programming input for them, and so that's just kind of something that they've built into this project as well. So you can roll around, you can bump the ball into these boxes here, and if you bump hard enough, you can maybe knock them over. Looks like there's some gravity settings and some mass or density for these boxes, and we'll get into how to change all of that stuff in future videos. But just take a second to roll the ball around the level and just notice that you've got the ability to explore around as this little ball. And so this shows you just how easy it is to get started, to create a project that's already working, and basically mess around with it and see just what you can do. Now, if you want to escape or get out of the game and stop the game, you have to hit the escape key on your keyboard, and that is basically equivalent to hitting the stop button up there, which we weren't able to do because we didn't have the mouse cursor. And in future videos, we're going to learn just how to get around getting into a game that's being played in the editor, get out of the game in various ways, and all of the controls. We're going to do that in future videos, but for now I just wanted you to just hit the play button and test play this project and see just what it's like to test a game in the engine, and also just hitting that important milestone of downloading, opening the engine, opening a project, and seeing how it works. So that will wrap up this video. This is a solid introduction to making games, and you now have the software package necessary to create games, and you've seen just how easy it is just to get started and create a basic project. I know you didn't make this one, but we're going to see just how easy it is to create our projects and create some functionality that's unique to the games that we want to create. So excellent job, and in the next video we're going to continue and start learning a little bit about the controls inside the engine and how to maneuver around, and then we will further then progress our learning into actually making some functionality in our games. So stay tuned, and we will see you in the next video.